Right, lung crushers and predators out there, man. This is Dean. We're flying solo. Travis had to get ready to take his family on a vacation next week, which is going to be great for him. So he had to bail on us, and I apologize for the early glitch there. That is not my role with technical stuff. So we're back on board. We got Johnathan, the RedBearded Outdoorsman, and we're happy to have him. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, and kind of tell us about how you got into this, what do you like to do, and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no, of course. And I appreciate you guys inviting me on. Thanks for having me. And, just a little bit about myself. I'm just your average Joe that really enjoys getting outdoors. The whole reason I started RedBeard Outdoors was just wanting to share with other people, that you don't have to have lots of money. You don't have to have lots of time. Just make the most of your life as possible to be able to get outdoors. And that just looks differently for, different people, depending on if you're grandma just wanting to be able to play with your grandkids without being in pain constantly, or if you're the guy that wants to get after chasing elk 24/7, just there's such a variation in people, but we just want people to get outside as much as possible.
And that's so cool too. I know Travis and I kind of have the same mentality. We're our shows are more towards that new guy and or gal that's thinking about getting into hunting, trying to help them not make the same mistakes we did along the way, whether that be with e-scouting or equipment, what have you. So I think it is important, and I think it's great to be able to help that next person kind of get in, to the deal. What's your main passion, I guess? Is it all archery? Is it chasing the elks 24/7, or kind of where do you sit on that?
Man, elk they're just such majestic creatures. To be honest with you, I have yet to kill an elk. I've helped a lot of people pack them out. I've been on more than I can count number of times I've been out in the mountains chasing them. I have yet to knock one down, but I've gone headstrong into archery for many reasons, but mainly the challenge of it is what attracted me to it. And the fact that I can go and shoot in my garage every single day, I can't do that with a gun, right? So I love my guns, and I like to remind people that I love my guns, I love my rifles, but having reusable bullets with my bow and being able to shoot in the garage and be able to, get the kids involved on a more regular basis for me, and being able to save my ammo for the apocalypse, is a little bit.
It's freedom beans. Those are freedom beans. That's
the freedom beans. Yeah, the expensive freedom beans. Yeah, no, they. Honestly, it's got a lot to do with time and, budget as far as from the family and money. If I delve back into guns, I know I'm going to go headstrong and want to get all the custom stuff, and that's going to be another expense. Right now, I'm just building out, figuring out arrows and my bows and getting the kids involved, and it's just, for me, that's where I'm at right now.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's interesting. I've not been bow hunting for a long time. Probably coming up on, I guess, 6 years, 7 years now. And it's interesting because listen to Dan saying, it took him 5 or 6 years to get his first elk, and last year was my 5th year of going, 100% DIYer. And so every time I go, one, it's a great experience. To your point, just being outside and enjoying nature and God's creations is just huge. And I try to tell people that to your point, just get outside, because there's so many things that you miss. Like, just enjoy it. But it's a lot of fun, getting up there. And we actually hunt in Utah. Last year we was up at Thompson's Peak. We were just, a couple Texas boys that were way too early. But, we decided, okay, next year we're going to push it back to sometime in September. But it was just so quiet this year and so warm. It was a great adventure for sure. And every year we learned something new, but it's always a good time to be out there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's, and I guess where it all started was, I started Western hunting because I'm from North Carolina originally. And we're on the verge of moving back home. Well, for me, home, but my wife is from Utah. And I just miss the culture. I miss the greenery. I miss just the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really big into hunting. I've always been into the outdoors and always been into fishing, especially bass fishing. That just, I love the sportsman of it, just being able to constantly cast and be out there and have good conversations with people. And
Yeah.
so then I came out here, and a buddy of mine, well, at the time, I didn't know him. Uh, we just happened to talk because we're in the same congregation or ward here for church, and he needed some help with something. And I figured out, he's an outdoorsman, and so I just tagged along on a hunt with him, and that got me into rifle hunting. And the first year I didn't draw, and then the next 2 years I did draw my buck tag for mule deer. And I just started doing things slowly, more and more on my own when he wasn't available, because he owns his own company. He's a CPA, and so he's super busy. So when he wasn't available, I just started going out on my own, to my wife's dismay. To be honest with you, she was a little worried about me going out there by myself.
Sure.
These mountains are so huge to tackle. And anyway, I was 2 for 2 on my rifle tags 2 years in a row, and then I went. My grandpa gifted me a muzzleloader that he never shot, so that third year I ended up getting a muzzleloader buck, and so I guess that would be 4 years that I'd been hunting at that time, and I started getting into archery, and just wanted to go all in on archery because it's just that much more of a challenge. And I love the experience. I love the you have to be a little bit more fit, in my opinion, to be more successful at archery, because you have to be able to get up the elevation that they go, or be able to crawl, or be comfortable being uncomfortable, when you're freezing cold in the late season, like we were just experiencing, thigh deep snow, etc. And so for me, I love it. And you get more of a season. So you get here in Utah, you get from the end of August all the way through. I mean, we just ended on Wednesday, or I guess technically yesterday. So the 15th of December. I mean, that's like 4 months that you get to hunt,
Yeah.
So for me, that's a big deal as well. The more opportunities you get.
Have you ever done any of the I guess the extended archery
Mhm.
hunts at all too?
Yep.
How do those pan out for you? Is there
So yeah, so generally for November, that's the best time to be out for mule deer. Most people, unless you have like a really, really good tag and you know the unit, or you have a target buck, most people honestly wait until the extended for archery deer, because the rut kicks off. It's awesome to see these mule deer getting stupid and just ruddy and going after the does. And then for elk, it's interesting because you can't really, it's a lot more shrunken of an area. So you almost hope for what we got this year, which was a lot of snow earlier than normal. Normally we start getting snow in October, but it doesn't stick. It's not as deep. This year we got snow at the end of October, and it just hasn't really stopped since. And so that pushed the elk a lot further down, and there was a lot of elk activity all through November. And honestly, I didn't see the bulls separate from the cows until like the end of November,
Wow.
and until
Wow.
recently. Yep.
Wow.
So
Do you get enough time to go out and scout as well?
yeah, so I mean, this unit really isn't that hard to scout. It's not huge, but it's steep, it's thick, and there's some strategy to it, as far as you kind of have to have a team, because it is so thick that you could be 20 yards. I mean, it happened to us. You can be 20 yards from a bull and not even know he's there, and then
Wow.
he busts because it's just so thick with the scrub oak and the sagebrush and everything like that, that unless you have a spotter either across the ridge from you or down at the road, whatever, looking at the animals and having eyes on them, it's almost impossible to get in on them without having a spotter.
That's really interesting you said that, because again, we went up a little early, and we busted a cow, and we saw three bulls up really up on top of Thompson's Peak when we were still hiking in. We kind of stopped for some
Hmm.
lunch and rest a little bit, but by the time we got there, they were completely gone. But talking about the thickness of it, you're 100% right. It was fascinating. A couple of things that we knew or didn't know, but we learned this year, was to marry our Garmin and InReach, because once we got up there, we couldn't communicate.
Hmm.
And the other thing I noticed, I picked up that mag view, and I wasn't even thinking about that being on my phone. Well, messed up my compass, and so we were separated for 14 hours
Hmm.
until we found each other. But to the thickness point, I mean, you couldn't hear a call. We were trying everything to even communicate, and it was rough there for a while. But that's interesting. That's a great tactic to be able to have another person somewhere else to kind of glass around and communicate to help. That's a great idea. We didn't even
Yeah.
think about doing something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it takes some sacrifice. Obviously, someone has to either not have a tag and be willing to still go out and hunt with you,
Hmm.
or they have to be willing to not be even close to the animals and help you get in on it. We're going to be recording a podcast tomorrow with the bull that we knocked down on Wednesday. He's a 7x2, and
Wow.
because he got broken off, but he was, I mean, I'm not one for measurements, to be honest with you. I'm still figuring
Hmm.
this out, but the guys that know what they're talking about, they were like, he would have easily been a 370, 380 bull if he hadn't been
Wow.
broken off. And he was just, he had been beat up all year. Basically, he had a crap year. He probably would not have made it through the winter. And like, he had a muzzleloader slug in his shoulder. He had a
Wow.
completely shattered shoulder. He was a 3-legged elk, basically, with a broken antler. Like, he had a rough year.
Right.
And he was old, mature. Like, when we cleaned him up, his teeth were worn down to nubs. Like, he was a good bull to pull out this year. He was kind of going on the decline.
Right.
So but anyway, I won't share too much of that story because we're going to be recording that tomorrow. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it was great. And even though I'm not the one that filled the tag, being there and being within 80 yards of that elk, again, it was a 50-50 chance. Either he was going to run to me or my buddy. And it was just an amazing experience. Like,
I
just being
bet.
able to be there, witness the whole thing, be that close in on him.
Sure.
It was awesome. So yeah, the
Always.
extended, I recommend it for anyone that's willing to be cold, wet, and put in some hard miles. Even though we only put probably 7 miles in on Wednesday, they were hard 7 miles because,
Yep.
again, there was from knee to thigh deep snow, up and down the mountain, slipping everywhere. So yeah.
Wow. I've always said that hunting is a selfish sport, because you're just as happy when your buddy harvests something as you would be if you did it. And I think the
Hmm.
camaraderie that it brings is unbelievably cool. And I also have never heard a bad story hunting, like, it was okay. But there's always something very cool that kind of comes along with that time that's spent out there, which is awesome. Do you do anything else? Do you any bird hunting or anything like that out there?
Yeah, I do. I'll do turkeys, but I'm not really into waterfowl hunting because, again, that's so just the people that I've talked to about it, and I'm trying not to offend anyone here, but it's basically, from what I understand about it, it's social hour. It's
Yeah,
freeze your butt off and
yeah,
go out there and have a good time with friends, which it's awesome. But, like, for me, I'm like, I'd rather go to indoor 3D archery range and shoot with my buddies than go after a bird that's not really going to provide me a lot of meat, and it's going to be tedious to cook. And, like, to me, it just doesn't attract me. I get why
sure,
people do it,
yeah,
just like I understand why people golf, and I don't like golf for the same reason. Like, I,
yeah,
I could find better ways to spend time with my buddies, but people like golf. I'm like,
yeah,
great. Like, I'd rather go shoot tack or, go long range rifle shooting than golf, but to each his own, right? So
sure,
for me, it's mainly big game hunting. I'm looking at more opportunities, maybe going down to Texas a little bit more often, um, and getting some hogs, or I've got some other opportunities with whitetail, maybe going back to North Carolina and getting in a tree stand for the first time with a bow.
yeah.
Those kind of things is definitely what I get after.
Well, the hogs are fun for sure. So you definitely will have a good time doing that. And no matter what anybody says, I think they taste just as good as store bought, if not better. Some guys will say, "Oh, you can't eat the 200 pounders," but at the end of the day, that's a great shot on a 200-pound big, and I think it's great,
Do
food. So
anything in the slow cooker with enough barbecue sauce.
and ketchup, yeah, you can
Oh
you can
yeah.
handle, yeah,
Oh
right,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, or hot
So
sauce. That's
so
I'm not a big ketchup guy, but hot sauce for me, like, I'll go put literally the Frank's Red Hot and let it, or the Buffalo Frank's Red Hot, and just let it. That's what I did when we went down to Texas this last time. I brought some back. It was funny going back through. I had a freezer carry on, and like the backpacks, and it goes through the scanner, and they were like, the heck? And so like they pulled me aside because I had a little bit of dry ice and I'd measured out exactly the amount I could carry on the plane. And but they were like, what do you have in here? I said, I've got a pig. And they were like a whole pig? I was like, well, no, I mean it's butchered. They're like, there's ribs. I'm like, I swear it's not a small child. Like those are hog ribs. Like, but they were laughing because they're from Texas. They've seen it before,
Sure.
but they were just laughing how I was handling it. And but yeah, I've still got some of the freezer, and for shredded pork, that's what I do. Is that's really, in my opinion, the only way to eat that kind of because it doesn't have a lot of fat. They don't make bacon. They're not really good in roast because they're so lean. But yeah, just slow cook it, shred it, and put it over rice. Put it with mashed potatoes. Put it with broccoli. Like you could put it on everything.
Everything.
It's good lean meat.
Breakfast sausage. I mean, all that is phenomenal. And
Yep.
it's I think it's interesting when you talk to people also that may not be in the hunting realm, how much healthier the food that we're eating is for you. I think that's and then when you're talking about the bull size too, I'm more of a meat hunter. I'm not going to pass up on anything obviously walks in front of me, but I don't intentionally go for a 5x5, right? So that's kind of where I sit. And that story about the pig coming through, I actually am a big bird hunter, and I was in North Dakota and brought back a couple speckle belly, and same thing. They're going through the scanner. They're like, "What do you have in this bag?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a goose, but I'm getting it mounted, so it's intact, So I got the funny looks, going through there. So I know what you mean.
Exactly.
So, from an archery standpoint, this is Travis and I always talk about this, and love to get everybody's opinion. Where do you fall in the realm of the heavy versus the light arrow argument? Where do you lie on that?
This is always a funny. It's like the mixed versus or the fixed versus mechanical.
Right.
I have depending on the bow, it's interesting because with a Hoyt, I can get 28-inch draw. With a Matthews, I'm a 27.5. And either way, so I usually shoot a little bit heavier poundage to make up for that. And I can, like, if you're struggling to pull it back, just let go of your ego and lower the poundage. I highly recommend that to anyone. It doesn't matter. It's not a locker room measuring contest, but so I generally err on just somewhere between 450 to 470 is usually where I end up as far as the grains on my arrow weight. I'm usually around 12 to 14%. It's usually, I'd say maybe 12 to 13% FOC for those people that measure that. I don't really measure that. It was interesting this year. I put a lot more weight up front than normal, and I had to go with a stiffer spine, which made my arrow a little bit heavier than I liked. So I like to stay between the 450 to 470 range. It keeps me right at around, I'm trying to remember the feet per second. I think the speed is ends up being like 290 when I've got an 80-pound Hoyt and
That's
a
smoking.
460 grain arrow. So for me, the people that are shooting here's my opinion on it, right? This is obviously very opinionated coming from me, but if I'm going to shoot out of a tree stand consistently, if I'm going to shoot at anything 30 yards or less, I'm okay with going freakishly heavy. I'm okay with that. But anything more than that, I just don't like the trajectory because it's not necessarily that you lose momentum or anything like that. But my problem is out west when you're shooting, you've got all these branches that you don't see. And so even if you have a heavy arrow, it's going to deflect a little bit if it hits a branch. So that's the one thing that I think a lot of people don't talk about is, it's okay for it to be a little bit slower if you've got a lot more mass behind it. But I just feel like a lot of people don't talk about the fact that there's branches. And if you're trying to fit it in this little gap, it's not going to fit in that gap because in that gap, it's going to be up here. It's not going to be, in the gap where your pin is showing. You're forgetting there's an arc. And so that's my biggest thing with the heavy arrows. Again, if I was shooting pigs all day, I'd be, single bevel, 2-blade, heavy arrow. Great. Maybe have one set up for that. But if you're coming out west, you have any chance of running into trees or thick stuff, I would highly recommend not
The
shooting that
flatter
because of the,
trajectory.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It's because it seems like everybody you talk to, it's they really are. Oh, you got to have a heavy arrow because you want that baseball on a string. It is what it is, and
Mhm.
I kind of fall where you're at. My arrows are a little bit heavier, but I've got like a 26-inch draw. It is what it is, pulling 70 pounds.
Mhm.
But as you just said, here in Texas, my shots are 30 yards and in, right? And so if I know that I'm going to get the penetration I want and I got the good shot placement, I don't really get too spun up in all the other things. I
Mhm.
will change my broadheads just because I like to play with different things.
Yeah.
Some are great, some are not so great. But the last pig I dropped was with the severed broadheads. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with
Yeah.
those.
No, I
Um,
haven't yet, but I was thinking of doing it maybe this year.
they're really nice. I gotta say it hammered that pig, which was a blessing because I shot him 3 times, two different other broadheads, and then that was the one that actually finally put him down. And one of them was a perfect shot, but it must have hit a rib, and it ended up underneath his in his axillary, and he was
Mm.
still motoring around. Like it literally
Mm.
had no penetration on it at all. And when I let it go, I thought, oh, that's perfect. And he just like nothing happened to him.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow,
Yep.
that is crazy. And then the other couple of other things I wanted to kind of talk to you about is first form. So tell me a little bit about that. And is that your company or you work for them, or is it just a supplement that you take in and like and have good results with?
Yeah. So First Form is a supplement company, a health and nutrition company that Andy Frisella, anyone that's familiar
Hmm,
with Real AF or MFCEO Project podcast, Andy Frisella is the CEO of First Form. So definitely not my company.
okay.
Uh, he's definitely a lot better at business than I am, obviously. But so my journey with First Form was so I was I've been working out since high school, basically, taking various supplements. And then, there's a company that I was kind of working with that was mainly geared towards the outdoors. And then, I liked First Form for the culture, for the people, for what I knew about the brand, but a lot of their marketing was towards gym goers, people
Hmm,
that wore the bright clothing or the were a lot more fit looking. And so for me, like that just wasn't my style. But I loved everything else. I looked up their ingredients, super clean, U.S. company, just in the culture, like they really do live up to their standards. They don't just talk about it; they actually do it, and it's just like a family. It really is. And so I was really interested in that, and then I saw that they had started an Instagram page. At the time, it had less than 1,000 followers. First Form Outdoors, and I was really intrigued, and so I applied to work for them as a Legionnaire and basically a representative of the company. And at through the interview process, I told him, I said, no, I want my headquarters guy to be Jake Arvold. And they were like, why are you so adamant about Jake? Do you know him? Like what? And I said, no, but I know he's the one that's heading up this new branch of the company, First Form Outdoors. And
hmm,
I said, there's a big market for people that don't necessarily want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they want to live the healthier lifestyle so they can enjoy the outdoors more. And I
hmm.
said, with your culture mixed with the outdoors side of things, you guys could smoke the market like nonstop. And so um, that's kind of where it all started. And then Jake and I have become really good friends to the point where we laugh about the fact that maybe my dad might have dropped the milk off in Wisconsin once, once or twice. But because like me and him look, I mean, we're like identical. I think he's like an inch taller than me, but like before my kids knew him,
Uh,
they were watching like we were watching some of his stuff on Instagram, and they were like, "Dad, is that you?" I'm like, "No, my beard's better than that." So like
everybody's got a doppelganger.
exactly, yeah. So, but I mean, it just works out, and so like, so basically, I mean, that's a long way to say I work for First Form, in the First Form Outdoor side of things, and we're growing that branch of the company, one step at a time. This is the First Form Outdoor shirt, and they just we just came out with hoodies. and we're working on a bunch of other stuff as well. But basic and maybe even rebranding some stuff to where it's actually First Form, outdoors branded stuff. So we're getting there, but that's what I always push people towards, because I use the stuff. I'm not a huge supplement junkie per se. My stack is very limited to, I don't ever tell people to go get a pre-workout, but if you're already taking pre-workout, they have the best pre-workout on the market. And then protein, I take protein. I take a greens formula because I don't eat like a rabbit.
Yep.
And I do multivitamin and a fish oil. And their stuff is the cleanest. I don't get the bloat that you get after having too many protein shakes. I don't experience any of that with their supplements that I've had with other companies. So super clean.
That's I'm assuming that the other company is the one I kind of started off with on my weight loss journey, I guess. Probably, oh man, it's probably coming on 4 years ago. And what started me was I wanted to go on an elk hunt in Idaho. And it's overweight, never exercised. I mean, it was just the epitome of a ice cream dude, movie watching. And I remember talking to the outfitter, and he goes, "Well, are you in good shape?" I go, "Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not like diabetic or anything. Like, I'll be fine." He goes, "Well, if you can't carry 100 pounds up 100 or 100 pounds on your back up 100 flights of stairs 7 days in a row, don't come." And I thought, that's my motivation now. Like, I want to go on this hunt. And so I just made it, that was it. It was like that kick in the butt of, you need to start working out and lose some weight and get it. And so ever since then, I just started and just have never stopped. And I just have never felt better at 54 now, than I have ever. And, but to your point, not wanting to be, a musclehead, in the gym. And so it's that fine balance of lean muscle, but fit enough to be able to handle packing out an elk or, what have you, down the mountain. So it's been a very cool journey. But all the supplements I've just kind of started with them and have just stuck with them because I just got the results, but always looking at trying different things, I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. But so that's interesting. What else do they have? You said they have the greens pre-workout and the multivitamin. Do they do
just about everything? I mean, there's weight loss stuff if you're into the fat loss, fat burning stuff. That's it. So here's another big thing that I love about the company is they don't look at you and say, "Why aren't you selling more?" As a representative from behind the scenes, they don't look at you and any different than someone who's selling a ton versus someone who's not. What they care about is the message you're putting out there. And in all reality, that's the culture that's what, again, impressed me about it so much, is that they don't just say we're out here to help people. Like, they're genuinely caring about helping people get better. Gotcha. Whatever your personal goals are. If you want to be a musclehead, awesome. We've got your help here. If you want to be, just again, the grandma that wants to be healthy with her kids, great. We want you to be able to go for those walks or be able to do whatever you're wanting to do in a normal daily basis. If you want to go chase elk, we want you to be able to do that as well. So there's the whole array. You could go from non-caffeinated pre-workout to the intra-workout stuff. You've got, the carbs, you've got the isolate protein, you've got all the different things that you could think of at any supplement store. They've got it. And in my opinion, it's the cleanest out there. I've got a stack of protein bars back here that I had to go gluten-free. It's funny because I used to laugh that was a trend, like, oh, that's the cool hipster thing, is it gluten-free, GF beside it? Oh my goodness. And then of course I got diagnosed with basically celiac. They said, if I don't treat it like celiac, I will get celiac. So, I've cut out wheat. And there's not a lot of good protein bars that don't have some wheat in them. And so when I tried theirs, when I started working with them, I was like, man, these are like, it tastes like a cookie. Like, I can't believe that you actually get 21 grams of protein out of this bar. Right. And, it's just things like that every time I try something new, like a new flavor that comes out or whatever, it just blows my mind. Like, we've got a root beer float protein.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, like, it just sounds weird, but you mix it up and it tastes just like it tastes like when the ice cream melts into your root beer and it goes flat, but it's got that strong vanilla with the root beer. Oh man, it's so good.
That's
and
it.
so, like, I mean, it just hits the nail on the head. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And
But they
again,
did.
you don't get that bloat that you get after some protein powders that you may have out there on the market.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So just keeping on the fitness chain, what's your to kind of again kind of looking at that new guy that may be looking at getting an elk or mule deer, anything that's going to require some physical activity. What's your now that you've kind of been down that journey, what would be your advice to that person? Like where would you tell them to start rucking, losing
Mm.
weight, getting in the gym? Like what would kind of your
Yeah.
path
So
be for that?
first, I would direct them to two groups on Facebook, and they're really the only reason why I have on Facebook at all, because I don't really like the platform, to be honest with you. But
Mhm.
I like that I can have a private group where I can communicate with people outside of just sending emails. And so Redbeard's Fit Crew is one of them. That's the one that I head up. And then, of course, First Form Outdoors on Facebook. Those two groups, you're going to find people that are going through your same struggles or are wanting to do the same things that you're wanting to do. And you
Hmm.
could even find that, make that community your own, which is the whole reason why I started the group that I started, was because I want people to be able to not feel like they're spreading it to the world, but they can share things that are maybe a little bit more intimate, maybe some struggles they're having. And so if you're wanting to come out west, I direct you to those two groups, because again, you're going to find people that are like-minded and maybe could even partner up with you, be accountability partners, etc. I'm more than happy to help you out as well. But I would say if you're a flatlander per se,
Hmm.
that is wanting to come out west, I would definitely say you can't imitate it, but uh, do as much as you can as far as
Yeah.
even just walking. Go
Yeah.
for a 45-minute walk with 45 pounds on your back every single day. Your calves are going to burn. They are, and
Yeah.
then when you maybe start timing yourself, start speeding it up a little bit. When that becomes easy, go find a hill, go walk up and down that hill. If you have a stair stepper at the gym, be okay being the weirdo that brings your heavy backpack in and do
Yeah.
the stair step. Like you got, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You
Like
got to.
do that,
Yeah.
those things. Or if you have a box, like a Rogue step up box, do the step ups. Dan Elk Shape is doing the December Chub Challenge right now,
Mm.
and I love that. That's a big motivation for a lot of people, because December rolls around and a lot of people get complacent, lazy,
Yep.
or you get the post hunt blues where you're like, man, I can't really do much, it's cold outside, and you make excuses. So
Mhm.
those are kind of places where I would start, is just imitating it as much as possible. Like, we were packing out this elk on Wednesday, and there's really nothing, like, two of us are really fit individuals. We train legs multiple times a week. Our cardio's in good shape. Um, Obviously we can always feel like we could be better, but
Sure.
we're gym goers, right? And we train, and we've been hunting all season. So, but it was only a half-mile pack out, and me and this other guy were like, man, we're gonna be coughing up blood, because like it was rough. Like, it was rough getting through. It was, and anytime we had any sort of incline, we just look at it and we're like, are you kidding me? Because he had snowshoes and he was still slipping and sliding down the hill. With, you've got 100 pounds of meat on your back, like
Sure.
it's a whole different ballgame. You can't imitate that. And we were laughing about that, because we were like, man, we do stair steppers, we do this and that. We've been
Yeah.
hunting all season, and you just can't. I said, look, I'm going to show up to the gym. I'm going to bring a bucket of snow, and you go walk the stair stepper, and I'm going to throw snow on it while we're like, because
Right.
there's no way to imitate that scenario. It
Sure.
just
Sure.
sucks. And you just
Yeah.
have to kind of internalize and just say, all right, I'm just going to take another couple steps. I'm going to take another couple steps, and just kind of laugh about the fact that you felt like you were in shape and now you're not.
It's very
Just
humbling. It's very
exactly.
humbling.
Just
Yeah.
don't get upset, I guess would be
Yeah.
a good, like, don't be upset about where you're at. Just smile, embrace the suck, and keep going, or quit. Like,
Right.
I mean, those are
Or
really your
what?
two
Yeah.
options.
There's
Or quit. Just don't do it. Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because we were about 7 miles in this last year, and I started talking to my buddy. I'm like, this is all cool, and I know we got to get on top of this mountain, but we got 7 miles to go back. Like, are we gonna be able to do this? At some
Mm,
point, you just kind of tap out and go, we're deep enough. It is what it is at this point, or we're gonna leave a lot of meat behind, or
Mm.
not, and so you kind of have to make that call, like, all right, we're done now. We're at a base camp here. We're going to cover this area, and
Mhm.
that's it.
Because even with
So,
two of you, if you kill an elk, you're going to be taking at least 2
oh,
trips,
easily, if not more,
at
right?
least, if not,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
if
was,
not more.
and I said, I was jokingly, was like, he said, told him, I go, I'm good for about 2 trips. I'm leaving all my gear here, and I'm just going to put a for sale sign on it because I'm not coming back to get it. Like, somebody could have a free tent and everything else. Like,
Mhm.
it's theirs. So,
Exactly. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, it's
uh,
real though. Like I laugh about it because I'm like, man, like I always think after the kill, I'm like, oh, well, I guess I got to get out of here now because like I I didn't think about getting him out until he's dead, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. Oh well, like
right, here we go.
here we go. So yeah, I mean, it's something that some people
Uh,
actually do. They take that into consideration, and I just don't want that to be a limitation for me,
mm,
and so I do everything that I can. I just actually just started well, I say I started this a little over 6 to 7 months ago, where I actually just made the decision because I realized that there were some people that were looking at me and thinking I was this uh, example of fitness, right? And I had hit a spot where I've never had a six pack in my life, and I accomplished that, and I felt like I was at kind of the pinnacle of my fitness, and I realized that I just feel like I wasn't connecting with people,
mm,
and so this is a thing that I just announced in the Fit Crew today. I started phase 3 of the Live Hard program, which I don't know if you're familiar with that,
mm-mm.
but we can go into that here in a minute.
Yeah.
But I, over the last 6 months to a year, have purposefully put on a good chunk of the weight that I lost. I lost about 50 pounds. I put about 30 of that back on.
Okay.
I'm doing the people might know the fit to fat to fit guy. I
Okay.
don't know if you've heard of him, but
Mm-mm.
there was a guy that purposefully, he got like extremely overweight. And he was this dude that was shredded his whole life. And he was like, I'm just gonna let myself go. And he got fat on purpose to show his struggles getting back to where he was, and kind of make a point of it's easier to maintain once you get to a level that you want to be at than let yourself go and keep recycling that over and over again.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Kind of like the guy was the guy that ate McDonald's for like a month
Yeah.
straight or six,
Right.
whatever, kind of
Yeah.
like that, but more fitness oriented rather than just diet.
Gotcha.
And so I'm doing a smaller version of that, and I'm doing it because I didn't document the way that I wish I had my first go around when I lost those 50 pounds. It's a cool before and after shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember how I felt, and I'm going to get back to that point. I'm looking at a picture right now up here on my vision board, just of that's where I need to be, because that's how I felt the best on the mountain. I felt the best walking around. I felt the best in my own skin, and most capable at
Mm-hmm.
190 pounds, which is
Gotcha.
still heavy for my like I think if you look at the BMI chart
Mm-hmm.
at 193 pounds, I'm still considered overweight at my height. But I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, dude, I was like 12% body fat. Like I was not overweight. I'm
Huh.
just thick.
Thick.
I
Yeah.
pack on muscle, for
Gotcha.
the guy that's 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, uh,
Yeah.
depending on how much I stretched, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
or the shoes I'm wearing. But
Yeah.
so I'm going back and I'm documenting better the way that I'm going through this process to show people that it's a slow and steady thing, not just a fad diet, which is going to happen here in the next couple weeks when New Year's kicks off. People are going to be, oh, keto or Atkins or this or that, carnivore.
Yeah.
There is no
It's
one size fits all.
it's a
You know.
lifestyle. I mean,
Mhm.
I agree with that. I think, when I started that, I my pendulum went completely off the rails, where I was down to 6% body fat, shredded, felt great, but then I started up the mountain, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
have zero energy. I'm freezing. I mean, I had no reserve whatsoever. And I thought, okay, that was kind of a dumb
Mhm.
move, right? So I did. I'm not intentionally putting on weight, but now I'm hovering at 160, and that's where I feel
Yeah.
really good, right?
Most
Like,
capable.
yeah, like I'm 5'8", I'm not a tall guy either, but it just fits my frame.
Yeah,
and I feel good about that. So I
exactly.
understand kind of where you're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and I'm having to get over that because I was feeling super confident when I was at that weight, and I'm realizing my clothes are fitting a lot tighter. I have I've got a stomach, even though like from the chest up, like I look big, right, and I've like I work out, but I'm not happy. I don't feel my best, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm having to I'm wanting to document that for the people that are in this position 24/7. I'm wanting to show people it's very possible. You just have to put your head down and kind of grind it out, and it's one day at a time. And you
Yep.
may not see progress from today to tomorrow, but in 2 weeks, you're going to look back at those pictures that you took when you started, and you're going to say, man, I've made a lot of progress in 2 weeks. 3 months from now, you're going to look back and you're like, wow, that's a whole different person. Your clothes are not going to be fitting the same, and so I'm really wishing I had documented that better the first time. But the reason I didn't, just to be 100% honest, is just um, I was worried I was going to fail, and it was
Mm.
going to be very public that I failed. And I didn't want that. So I just, I did it all on my own, very quietly, shredded the 50 pounds. And then everyone sees this before and after. They're like, dude, that's awesome. They don't know it took me a year and a half. They
Right.
don't realize that, I did it over COVID, when everyone else was sitting back and saying how awful things were. Like I kind of took pride in the fact that I took that as a challenge.
Uh-huh.
So it just, anyway, long story short, I'm just going back and documenting that again so that I can relate more to people rather than just people looking at me and be like, oh, dude, he's really fit. I
Yeah.
want them
Yeah.
to see the progress and how they can do that too.
Yeah. And that's motivating. I think, you kind of, to your point, you kind of get that group. It's like working out in a group workout session. You seem, at least for me, when I do a morning workout at a Rebel Fitness, which is a, I mean, it's not CrossFit. It's like a functional training, I guess, but I don't know. It's kind of
High
weird, but it's
intensity. Yeah.
yeah, closest thing I can get at a gym to what I'm trying to accomplish in the
Hmm.
mountain, right?
Yep.
And so, but to suffer in a group is much more fun than suffering by yourself, right? And
Yep.
so, yeah, so that's really cool that you're doing that for folks to give them hope, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So to
And
speak.
it does. It sucks because like going hunting this year, like I was just like, man, carrying this extra 30 pounds on my body sucks.
Hmm.
Like walking the mountains in this sucks. Like I'm still going to do it, but it's not fun. So I can
Right.
see why people quit sooner,
Hmm.
why they're maybe getting headaches, why they're just not enjoying the hunt. And so again, I want to relate to people that are into the outdoors for that very reason, to show them like, look, you don't have to get shredded, but losing 10 pounds is going to change your life. Like you're
Yeah.
not carrying that around is huge.
Huge.
It's a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. You don't notice it until you notice it. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what you were going to touch base on
The Live
the
Hard
the
program.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people have heard of 75 Hard. Have you heard of
Yes.
75
Yes.
Hard? Okay.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
75 Hard is the first step of the Live Hard program.
Okay.
So 75 Hard, a lot of people have heard it. A lot of people have done it. I think a lot of people have done it right, and a lot of people have done it wrong. They've made their own versions of it, which Andy Frisella talks very adamantly about. He's like, you can tell the people who have done it right versus the people who have skimmed some corners,
Mm.
like maybe didn't really do the diet right, or maybe didn't really knock out their 5 critical tasks every day, whatever. Like you can just tell by talking to them. So it's 75 hard, and then there's a phase 1, 2, and 3. So I'm actually gonna let me pull this up real quick on my phone because there's an app. I think it's like $5, and then like there's no recurring anything. But um, let's see here. So phase 1. Let's see. So you can keep your pictures in it and everything like that. Um, maybe it's not going to show me here. Okay. Either way, so 75 hard is 75 days. If you pick a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol.
Hmm.
You have 5 critical tasks, which are basically they're 5 actionable tasks. So it's not 5 goals, it's 5 things that you're going to do today to get closer to your goal. So if that's
Mm.
making 5 phone calls for your career, for your work, whatever you need to do. Making 5 phone calls is one task. Writing emails would be like something physical that you can do in that day to accomplish your goals.
Okay.
Right. And then let's see, a gallon of water, 2 workouts, 2 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outside, and reading a book. So a physical book, nonfiction, generally self-help type, whether that be with finances, again, towards improving your career, your mindset, etc. But 10 pages out of a physical book every single day. No audiobooks, none of that. It has to be an actual physical book every single day. And I might be forgetting something, so I apologize.
One good deed. It's one good deed too, or something like that, or
no. So that's in this phase that I'm in right now.
okay.
So then phase 1 adds like 1 or 2 more things to that. So 75 hard is 75 days. Then phase 1 is 30 days, and it adds 1 or 2 things. One of them being like, I think it's 10 minutes of visualization. So shutting everything off and just focusing on your goals, how you're going to accomplish them, etc. Right. So that's phase 1. And then there's something else to go. So guys, don't quote me on all this. You can go to my Instagram, and I actually have the screenshots of the different tasks, which that would be smart if I pulled it up right now, right? I'm like, hey, go here. Oh wait, yeah. I can go there. Let me see here. Because I have the screenshots on there for a reason, because I just send people that way so I don't screw it up like I'm doing right now. Let's see if it'll pull. Okay. So 75 hard. Follow a diet, 2 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outside. No alcohol, no cheat meals. Take a progress picture every day. That was the other thing. You have to take a progress picture every day. You don't have to share it, but you have to have that picture taken every single day. 1 gallon of water and 10 pages of reading out of a physical book. Okay. So that's 75 hard. Phase 1 is all of those things and the 5 critical tasks, right? Phase 1 is 3 additional critical tasks, so 8 total. 5-minute cold shower and 10 minutes of dedicated visualization on top of the 75 hard things, right? So you do that every single day for 30 days. Phase 2 is you go back to 75 hard rules. So it's a shorter version of 75 hard. It's 30 days of 75 hard rules. There has to be a gap of 30 days at least between phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay.
So you have to take a break. You can't be on phase 2 right after phase 1. And then phase 3, which is where I'm at, is follow a diet, 2 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outside. Additional 3, so 8 total critical power tasks on your list. 5-minute cold shower. Talk to a stranger every single day. Now, this isn't hi, bye. This is an actual conversation with someone every single day. For me, I generally go to the grocery store and just start a random conversation with people. Turns into usually a really good conversation. Let's see. Take a progress picture every day. 1 gallon of water, 10 pages of reading out of a physical book, which for me is this book this time around. The Magic of Thinking Big. I can't say if it's good or bad. I'm imagining it's good because Andy recommends it, but let's see. And then no alcohol, no cheat meals, and 1 random act of kindness every single day.
Okay.
So that has to be something, again, kind of out of your comfort zone. If you're a billionaire, buying someone a cup of coffee is not an act of kindness kind of thing. Like, it needs to be equivalent to where you're at, what's a little bit maybe uncomfortable. So like for me, buying someone's meal or helping someone with their groceries, like that would be something that I could
like
do.
Open the door for somebody to walk in, right? Like it's
right. Something out of your comfort zone.
Right.
And generally, like you can combine those two things. So having that conversation with a stranger and doing the random act of kindness can be hand in hand, especially around this time of year. It's really easy to go out and shovel someone's walk.
Sure.
You know, spend the 30 minutes it takes to get someone's driveway cleaned out for them, you know, stuff like that. So, though that's where I'm at right now. I like challenges, if that hasn't been, you know, clear, in this conversation. But I love doing this phase 3 around the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's wanting to eat a lot. There's a
Yep.
lot of junk food around. But for me, I'm like, well, it's an even better time to do the random act of kindness. People are a little bit more open to a random person coming up and doing something for them.
Of
It
course.
kind of spreads that Christmas cheer, if you want to put it that way. Because I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of year.
And do
I
they
love
have
that
to
challenge.
know that you've done that, or is it in secret, the
Not
random act of kindness?
necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. You don't need to go up and be like, "Hey, I'm doing this for you," right? But like,
Right.
if you walk around like on your 45-minute walk outside or jog, and you carry a bag to go pick up garbage, maybe you've noticed there's more garbage than normal in the street or whatever. That could be your random act of kindness. If that's not something that you're already doing on a regular basis, if you're
Yeah.
doing it on a regular basis, it doesn't count. It
It
has
doesn't
to
count.
be out of your comfort zone.
Gotcha.
Something different. So,
Yeah, you would kind of think
um,
that if you told somebody that you bought their dinner, that would kind of negate the random act of kindness, right?
right, exactly. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So that's just kind of that. But yeah, I really, and we're actually going to be going on a trip to Cancun the first week of January.
Good
So
for you.
again, I'm going to be in the middle of this phase 3 on a
Right.
vacation to Cancun. So, some people, so like I was talking with Jake today earlier about that. He's like, you're going to be on this phase while we're out there, huh? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, like it kind of like hit me. I was like, all right, and it doesn't really worry me necessarily the diet portion. It's more the stuff that's out of my control. Like if I can't get an outside workout because the flight's delayed or something like
Mm.
that, that's what kind of worries me a little bit more. I was joking with Jake. I was like, yeah, we're gonna be having those nice long jogs on the beach, for
Yeah,
my
yeah.
outside workout. That's what we'll be
Yeah.
running into the sunset over here. But
You're
no,
doing
like yeah,
burpees on the plane or something, just to
exactly. Yeah,
get
dude.
something.
Oh my goodness. Burpees in the wet sand. Oh man.
Right,
I might have to
right.
do that just to see how
Just
that
to
is.
do it.
But but yeah, again, kind of a constant theme. I like to challenge myself more and more. Um and again, why I started the podcast, and now I don't just do a podcast. I've put out 3 episodes a day. Just or a week.
A week.
And I've got the RedBeard's Fit Crew. I've got, the Instagram, working with different companies. Like I'm constantly looking to improve and then also improve other people's experiences with the outdoors. And I'm a gear junkie as well. So just, I love testing new gear, new stuff, and letting people know what works, what doesn't work, what's worth spending your money on, what's not,
Yeah.
stuff like that is really interesting to me as well. So,
And I think one of the nicest things about how you do your views too is not only getting into the in-depth. I just watched your dialed archery one, and I was really interested in trying that out. But I'm still playing with the Easy V. Have you seen that?
mhm. Yep.
And I'm just determined to make that thing work. And I've had it for about a year, and I called them a couple times and kind of talked to them a little bit about it. But back to the arrow portion with pigs, close deer, like I'm just determined to have that thing on my bow, and then have a completely different setup for west and tack,
Mm, mhm.
and so I've been trying to get more and more information, because that's a not a cheap site to pick
No.
up, to go, I don't know if I like this that much,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
um so I'm dying to see your follow-up on that after you kind of get it on there, and sling some arrows down the way. But have you heard of force torque knives?
Mm-mm.
I just got one in, and I know you like packaging, so
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So here's the box it
Nice.
comes in. It's nice, right? But it's a veteran-owned company, and again, just literally just got it in, so I want to try it out. But it's interesting in the fact that it will cut bone also, right?
Hmm.
And so you would start with this one, right? Come all the way down, and then you put this and I'm going to do a review on my channel when I drop a deer. But you put this on top, and then that acts as a fulcrum to get to the pelvis and the
Huh.
sternum. And supposedly you can go field dress 15 deer or elk, whatever, but 15 total, not of each, before it has to be resharpened.
Hmm.
So That's going to be very interesting. And they've got they got different handles. I went with orange because I tend to lay
Yeah.
stuff down and lose it. So
Yeah.
I figured that'd be the best way, but I just got that in, but it was kind of trying to back veteran owned companies,
Yeah.
or USA kind of companies as well. I think is hugely important. But well, we're coming up on an hour, but I wanted to ask you about two more things.
Yeah,
You
of
had
course.
talked about the mountain archery.
Mhm.
Where is that? When is that? And how do you find that?
Yeah, so Mountain Archery Fest is like it's similar to TAC. I go to both.
Okay.
And there were 2 Mountain Archery Fests here in Utah last year. There was one in Beaver and one in Soldier Hollow. But they're throughout the nation. So I'd go to their website. I think it's mountainarcheryfest.com.
Hmm.
Uh, and they're already open for registration. I want to say it's cheaper than TAC, and it seemed to be more family friendly. Like TAC has a lot of vendors, has a lot of
Hmm.
walk around, shake hands, see all the cool new gear and stuff. And Mountain Archery Fest has some vendors, but they're a little bit smaller. And they had some, like my kids came out and played cornhole and a whole bunch of other stuff. And they've got some kid friendly like shooting that you can go up and go and shoot the 3D targets. Um, and then it just seemed less like there wasn't as much pressure. Like if people were behind you, they weren't like hurry it up, kind of stuff like you can encounter at TAC, because they are a lot more of a bigger event. But yeah, there's a couple of different ones. I'm not sure outside of Utah where they're at, but I do know
Okay.
that there's quite a few outside of Utah. So you can check those guys out.
Okay.
Just mountainarcheryfest.com.
And it's pre-season, just like TAC. It's
Yep.
right. And have you ever done the one up in it's a BMAC, the Beast Mode Archery
Oh,
Challenge?
that's another one. I've been invited to it this upcoming year, so
Okay.
I might end up going. I'm not 100% sure. I've got, I'll be going to a couple of elk-shaped camps,
Hmm.
and yeah,
Have
I've
you
got an
done
out of.
those, by the way? Have you done any of them
Oh
yet?
yeah, yeah. I've
How
done
are
them
those?
2 years in a row.
We were
Mhm.
looking at doing the one that's coming to Texas.
Nice. I'll be
And
there.
are you going?
Yeah, so I'll be at
What's
the hopefully the Wisconsin, the Texas, and then I'm thinking of Washington. Depends though. I think it falls on my wife's birthday, so might
gotcha.
not be going to the Washington
Right,
one.
right.
But
Yeah. That might be a bad decision.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what's what do you how's that work? What do people expect going to those?
Elk-shaped camps,
Mhm.
drinking from a fire hose, basically. I mean, this last year especially, we had even more people than the year before. Um, and we had like Joel Turner was there.
Mhm.
He loved, oh man, that was so much fun. Where I had been messaging with him a little bit, back and forth. I'd followed his stuff. I apply his principles when I shoot. And so when I step up there, he's like, oh, look, it's RedBeard. I've been watching you shoot, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, he took an arrow and was smacking the brim of my hat while I was at full draw. I'm back here. And then he takes the fletchings and blocks my eyes from being able to see the peep. And he's like, you better not fire that thing off, And it was cool to see that I actually applied his principles correctly,
Mhm.
because he was like, oh, you actually, that was really good. So, but yeah, he gave me so much crap. It was so fun. Like he was like poking me in the ribs when I was at full draw, like trying to get me to fire off the shot. It was hilarious. But
Wow.
yeah, so Joel Turner was cool. He was there, talks about shooting the bow. And then we had the bugler there talking about calling. They had the hunting fool guys there talking about tag allocation. We talked about gear choices, what you should spend your money more on if you have a limited budget, versus what maybe you shouldn't. Just a whole bunch of knowledge. I
Mm.
mean, just Mark Livesey was there for e-scouting, for the Tree Line Pursuits Academy that he
Mhm.
does. And his, oh my gosh, I don't even know how he does what he does, but he's a wizard on the computer, and
Wow.
being able to find elk, like it's ridiculous. And then I'm trying to think who else was there. Oh, and then we had Ben from Wad Prep was there.
Okay.
Helping teach the CrossFit class on Sunday, the fitness and stuff like that. So this year was even more intense than the year before. But I highly recommend people go check out Elk Shape, especially right now. He's doing the December Chub Challenge, which is awesome. The first year I went to Elk Shape Camp was because I won a scholarship through the December Chub Challenge. And
Right
then
on.
Dan and I became friends. He's been on the podcast. I've been on his. And
Good
then I went
dude.
again this year. So
Yeah, I've emailed him, and of course it's season now. He's like, I'll definitely follow up. I'll definitely we'll for sure come on. So we're looking forward to getting him on and kind of talking to him and everybody. Since we're just small, we're just, like I said, it's a bunch of Texas boys just kind of getting people on and
yeah.
chatting a little bit, but everybody's been so receptive to coming on, and Trail was on from Go Hunt, and that was a great conversation too. And so this whole journey of not being on this side of the world, to your point, I have no social media, it was just a random thing with Travis, like, hey, let's just get on here and kind of talk about whatever and see what happens. And so it's been a very cool journey. I've met some cool people and like-minded, and just learned so much every single conversation that we have, so it's been interesting, to say the least. So
Yeah, no, definitely.
But anyway, I don't want to keep any more, but hey, give anywhere you want people to look you up or find you, or what's your handles on everything, and we'll wrap up the session and get off to dinner and enjoy our families.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here on the podcast. It's definitely different being on this side of the microphone sometimes, getting asked the questions rather than asking them. But yeah, you can go. So I've got my own podcast. It's RedBeard Outdoors, anywhere you listen to the podcast, or on YouTube, especially for the gear reviews. It's really cool to get on there or watch my conversations that I have on Saturdays that I put out. And then, of course, Instagram, red.beard.outdoors, Facebook group, RedBeard's Fit Crew. I'd love to have you over there. If you don't have Facebook, but you want to get on the weekly calls, you can also email me. It's just redbeardoutdoors1@gmail.com. So all those places.
Awesome. All right, man, we appreciate everybody listening, and you guys be safe out there. Have a good time. Get out in the woods, enjoy your families, and most of all, have a very Merry Christmas. We appreciate it. We gone.